So first of all, for those of you, hopefully you do know Morey. Morey, of course, plays with York 9. Just signed a new contract, Morey. So congratulations on that, man. How does that feel to sign a new deal and to be part of York 9?
Well, firstly, being from Aurora, that means a lot to me because, York 9 is the 9 districts in the regions of York. So it means a lot coming from there. I think, because it's a difficult time right now, I really wanted to have some security for next year. I think the football market is not going to be what it used to be. And I think I had a plan to, take another step in my career after this year, but because of not playing and the new president that came in, he showed a lot of faith in me and he wanted me to be a part of the project here. So we talked, we conversed, and tried to get things done. And I'm super happy to be part of this organization going forward. It's a dream come true to play and to have your family and friends come out to watch you every week. So I'm happy to get it done, especially at a difficult time right now. So it means a lot to me.
That's excellent, man. And I said it's a big thing for you, and that's fantastic. And another thing too, guys, and for Morey, as I said, we've had Jonathan Osorio on 2 days ago. We've had Kamal Miller, Ryan Raposo. We've had some really good conversations with them. And I think, obviously they're MLS players, and that's why I really wanted to focus on looking a bit closer to home. So, the MLS is one avenue, of course, it's a big league, but I just want the boys in particular to be aware of the Canadian Premier League and looking closer to home and the opportunities that Canada can now provide for the lads. How do you feel about playing in Canada and what it means to you in terms of this league? I know you talk about going to other adventures maybe down the road, but playing in Canada, how does that feel for you?
Well, it's a dream come true. To be quite honest, there was a lot of, problems with the system here, and it's part of, having the World Cup here. Obviously, you have to have a domestic league here, and for me, I wanted to be a pro, my whole life, and having that opportunity to represent a place close to home, and this nation is it's lacked a lot of that type of professional spirit for the last 20 years. So just being involved in something so special, in the inaugural season, just to be a part of that is obviously really important. But as the game grows, you're going to see new teams come in all across the country, and they're trying to get 14, 16, 20 teams by 2026. So this is an avenue for young players, especially bridging the gap in between OPDL, League One, and for me, I was starved of a place to show my abilities for so long, and obviously signing my first deal at 25, it's a long process for me, but now kids have that gap to really show their abilities, and I think over the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see a lot of affiliations with clubs and their local CPL teams, so you can get a lot of players through.
Absolutely, and I say that's you touched on it well. The platform hasn't been there for a long time, but now it is here, and I think that's something that all the young players, especially the guys on this call in that kind of 15 to 17 age bracket, to really be aware that there is a platform for at home. Yes, you can go to the States or go maybe through a scholarship route, which is of course fantastic, but I just want you guys to be aware of the opportunities that are closer to home here, and should you want to make it to that kind of standard. We touched on it. It's tough right now. What are you doing? What are you and the boys doing maybe to keep fit? Are you doing your individual stuff? Are you doing group work? What's it like right now?
We have a run program that we're doing 6-7 times a week. So we have an app called Nike Run Club, and it's just to monitor your running for the day. So the physios and the strength and conditioning guys will send out a program the night before just to set us up for the run, whether it be 5, 7, 10K run or some interval stuff. Actually, one of my best friends from high school, he is a cross country runner and he runs quite competitively in the States. So he's back here now, and I'm really kicking. He's really kicking my butt right now, and we're going on big long runs, but I'm doing a lot of workouts in the basement. I have an unfinished basement on one side, so weights up to 40 pounds. Honestly, you don't need weights. You can find workouts with a lot of body weight. So we're required to do some stuff 3 times a week, and I'm just focusing on trying to make the best out of the situation. It's tough, and not playing and doing what you love is very hard on you emotionally, but this is something that everyone's going through, and I think you have to get into a routine and get to know what works for you, and just try to make the most out of your day.
Absolutely, yeah. It's getting into that mindset of keeping training, and I think doing it together gives you that accountability too, I imagine. So you're doing it with maybe you're comparing your running times. It pushes you a bit more when you work out against someone else, right? Or working out together.
Yeah, we have a WhatsApp chat, and we're kind of making fun of each other as we go. Who has the best time, stuff like that. We have Zoom calls with the gaffer just to go over some tactical stuff, and just to kind of talk to us about how we're feeling. The mental side of the game is super important, and just to, this is a part to stay connected. And we had a big preseason in Florida. We went for 2 weeks, and now it's just about maintaining that fitness level. You don't want to take a step back. You want to keep the levels, and when the time comes for us to go back into the professional atmosphere, we have to be ready for that. And it's important that we stay competitive amongst ourselves.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm a fitness, as the guys know, I'm a fitness junkie myself. So I want to touch on your fridge for a second. I mean, everyone's talking about the gym side of things and staying fit. What are you eating? What's that like for you right now? I mean, what kind of things are in the fridge? Or are you making sure you're hitting a certain amount of something a day? What's it look for you?
I've been going on pretty much the same diet for the last year, ever since I turned pro. My captain actually got me into oatmeal, so I've been, every morning I take oatmeal 365 days of the year. That's my go-to in the morning, and I'll have a coffee, a banana, some lactose-free yogurt. Oatmeal is something that if you're in a rush and you need something quick, it doesn't hit you very hard. So it's something that I can take pretty much half an hour before training. Fortunately, at training we have lunch after the session, so anywhere, chicken, beef, pastas, couscous. You're making sure you're getting your proteins and your carbs in after training, and there's always going to be a salad portion, whether it be salad or some mixed veggies on the side. But I eat chicken 6-7 days a week for dinner. It's something that works for me. I don't experiment in the kitchen, to be honest. I like to just keep it consistent, and it's something that makes it easier for me. So I have chicken, a lot of rice, brown rice. I got a rice cooker last year, so it's very helpful for me. But the biggest part of transitioning between the semi-pro and the pro level for me is just snacking. I think when you're home, especially, I get home around 1:30 from training, so I have the rest of the day to do whatever. And it's tough to ignore the fridge to try to snack, and just to stay away from the chips, the cookies, stuff like that. So I've been incorporating healthier options into my daily nutrition, just trying to eliminate fats and sugars, and that's helped me a lot on the field.
Fantastic. No, that's great. I see the same to the boys on the call. That's the fitness side of it is one thing, and the technical and tactical, but what you're actually putting into your body, guys, is crucial. And to play at that level that Morey's at, you need to take prime care of your body, making sure you're getting all those nutrients in and hitting your macronutrients every day. So it's tough. It's a cookie jar right there. I'm guilty of it myself, but right now, So let's start off with the story about you then. I mean, where did the kind of love for soccer come from, and what was it like in Collingwood as a young lad playing soccer? What was the journey for you?
Oh, my dad got me into football, so started playing house league here, and playing 2-3 years up as I was a kid into my 8, 9, 10, and he was very hard on me. He never did anything less than perfection, and he always was yelling at me and very hard on me, and I just wanted to do right by him, and sometimes that put a lot of strain on our relationship, but I couldn't have done it without him. I kept working hard, and thing about coming from a small town is it's difficult because here especially it's a hockey town, and I found it very hard to connect with my friends as I grew older. I wanted to focus on soccer, and my friends were playing 3 4 sports, and it's tough to as a kid to try to put yourself away from that and focus just on one thing. And I had no platform to play. I was playing men's league up until I was 20 years of age, and I saw that the League One was starting, League One Ontario was starting, and I was harassing coaches, sent out a bunch of emails, just wanted to get a trial with a team. And Durham, it's about 2 hours from my home, so I went out there for a tryout, and they took me on as a kind of like a redshirt player, and then eventually they signed me after a few months of training. So that was I was playing men's league with a lot of parents, a lot of adults, and it's tough because you want more for yourself, and you want to have exposure growing up, and I didn't have that. I was oftentimes confused and didn't know if I could continue to go on this path, but it's all about staying mentally strong, and the journey is important as a destination for me. So playing League One, I didn't have a good season there. I didn't play very much at all, and I was traveling back and forth 2 hours a day, 4 or 5 nights a week, and I came home and just went to Google and just tried to get an agent, tried to get anyone that would try to give me a chance in the professional the world. And that's where I met an agent from Brazil. So I tried to get there for free, but I had to pay out of my own pocket like $2,000 for me to go and have this opportunity there. So it was tough for me. As a kid from North America, you get things handed to you for the most part, and going there was different for me. It was tough living conditions, obviously. When players see a Canadian going to a South American country, they look at you different. They want to kill you in training. They want to take your spot away, and not really. I had no friends there, and I met one person that spoke English, and we kind of got along. But it was a very tough time in my life, and one that I learned a lot. But no, I came back here, and actually the same agent sent me to Miami. I played PDL there for a few months, and came back, and that's where I met Jimmy. I messaged one of my friends that I used to play with, and he got me in touch with Aurora, and I've been there ever since. I met you, and the rest is pretty much history.
Fantastic, man. I mean, you touched about going to Brazil there, and I mean, what would you say the big differences, if you were to pick, like, what were the main differences between going there and obviously talk about it's tougher, I know that, but the main difference maybe culturally, maybe in terms of the way they play the game compared to here. The reason I asked is we had Jonathan Osorio who spent some time in Uruguay and really talked about that period being a time of toughening up as such. I mean, how was it for you going from there and then coming back here again and noticing a difference between the two?
Well, I think the desperation, you really feel these players, they're making, I was talking to a few of them over a translator app, and they're making about 200 Canadian dollars a month, and they have families all across the country, and they're sending 95% of their salaries home to them. And that's just when you show up every day, you have a job to do, and right away I felt that it's a lot more serious there. There's everyone wants to play, and here you get players that want to do different things, whether it be different sports or a different direction, but there it's everyone wants to play. Everyone wants to play at the highest level, and there's millions and millions of kids, boys, girls that love football, and that shows in their training, and if you're not up to standard, they can just swap you out, take another person in. It doesn't matter to them. They're going to pay them the same salary at a low rate. So I just felt it was one of the happiest moments of my life being there, because I felt like for the first time in my life, I was experiencing just a different way of living. But at the same time, it was tough emotionally. We had no hot water at our apartment for 3 months, and the food wasn't good. A lot of things was, not how I wanted it to be. But when that was the first time when you wake up and you're doing something that you love every day, that should outweigh everything else. So even in the States, it's you know I found a big investment difference from there to here. When I was playing PDL, which is like a League One, pretty much the same similarities, semi-pro level. We had our own apartments paid for by the club. Every week we get our fridge filled with food. We'd have a car there ready for transportation whenever we needed. So League One, teams maybe pay gas money, but they don't do anything else like that. So that's, a big difference what I saw down there as well.
No, it's yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of similar to what Jonathan touched on, is that desperation. I mean, if they're not going to be professional, that's probably their only way out. That's the only way to make it for a lot of them, is to become a professional football player, and everyone's fighting for that position. So when you kind of think here in Canada, we're blessed that we have so many opportunities. If soccer doesn't work out, there's always something else. But I think it's important to realize that in these South American countries in particular, that they're not as lucky or as privileged as we are. They have less. So it's important to realize that, and what it does to your personality in terms of that fighting mentality. Just talking about your position now, in terms of fullback, you've kind of made that position your own at York 9. Were you always a fullback? Did you start in other positions, or was that a position you thought when did you realize this is the spot for me here?
I played actually right wing when I was a little younger. From under 8 to under 13, 14, I was a winger, scoring goals, loving to score goals. But one day actually, my coach, he didn't have anyone to play the fullback position, and like anything, no one put their hand up, so I volunteered myself, and I fell in love with the ability to affect the ball on both sides. It's one thing going forward, but you have to take pride in what you're doing defensively, and that was something that I fell in love with, and just seeing the game from a different perspective was amazing for me. I mean, the goalie sees everything, but the back four, it was a new sight for me, new things to see, and I just love the ability to try to control my teammates and help out that way. But I also knew that stepping into a more serious level of football, it's less competitive at the fullback position. I think for me, I went on YouTube right away and started looking up. That's where I fell in love with Dani Alves, just following him, and just he was a big role model for me. But it's all about how you see yourself, and I think that playing the fullback position was one that I thought competitive wise was a little easier for me, so that's why it stuck. And jumping to League One and jumping to the professional level, you learn new things, and you fail at the things that you thought that you were doing good. So it's all part of the process, and I'm happy to have a good season, but I don't want to be judged on just one season. I want to have a 5, 10, 15-year career, and hopefully I can stay healthy and do that.
Yeah, and again, and again for the boys who we had the call with John Lilly 2 days ago, he also touched on that making it is one thing, but having a good career is something else. So what in terms of your career, what kind of aspirations do you have in the next 5 years, 10 years? What does it look for you? What are you thinking of?
Oh, I want to play for the national team. I think last year I cemented myself as one of the best in the league here, and a few CPL guys got called up for that national team, and that's something that is a testament to the league and a testament to the skill and the technical ability and everything that's going on with the players at this level. And I'd love to represent my nation. And as a young boy, that's something that you always want to do. You always want to put on that shirt. So that's definitely something. I want to play in Europe. I think 25 and I'm 26 now, just on my second year as a pro. I really want to make it to Europe and play in a domestic league there. I think that's an achievable goal for me. And as a boy, I always wanted to look up to the EPL, and my favorite players were from Europe. So that's something that I really want to do before I retire.
What's that water bottle you have there, by the way? Which?
Gaffer gave me trouble for this. That's why it's home now.
Okay. We can Photoshop that out. Don't worry. That's us there for. No, that's fantastic. I was just talking now about more. And for the guys on the call as well. We talk about the technical side of things. We judge you on that. We can judge a player on the tactical side of the game. The physical side is easy, but the fourth, and of course, is the mental aspect of the game, and it's one that's overlooked a lot. We train so much technically, tactically, physically, that mentally, what kind of training are we doing? And for you, if you could talk maybe a little bit about what obstacles that did you have to overcome in your life, in your career so far, and how did you do it?
Well, the most important thing for me was exposure and being from a small town growing up. Facility wise, we don't have domes, we don't have turf fields here. So, you get a cutoff at September and you don't, touch grass until May the following year. So that was a big, I think a big hindrance in where I wanted to go. But, my parents at home, at my old house, we had an unfinished basement. So I could, train there, work hard with my dad always, and just try to bridge the gap in between seasons, really. But growing up, trying to get to somewhere, it was tough. I didn't know any important people in football, and like I said earlier, I was desperate and finally reached to Google and things like that to really establish myself at a senior level. But it's all about believing in yourself. I think for me, I even lost a lot of friends growing up because we didn't see things differently. And when I got into my teen years, I couldn't really relate to some of the things that were going on. Your friends go out partying, your friends go out doing other things. And for me, I wanted to focus on what I was doing, and I was training every day and waking up with the same mentality. It didn't matter for me if I played 1 minute of professional football. It was something that I needed to do inside my heart. And growing up as a boy from a small town, it's tougher and your back's against the wall. But I'm happy to be the only professional footballer from this town. It's something that I take with a lot of pride. When I'm home here, I get a lot of people talking to me on the streets and just telling me how proud they are of me, and that's something that I take a lot of pride in.
Absolutely, and I think if I was to touch on that in terms of the sacrifices that you made, in terms of some of your friends wanting to go and do different things, and you're saying no, I'm not doing that. Was there an age in particular, if you can think back, as to what age you were at that time? And I'm saying that because a lot of the guys in the call might be the same age around that time, 15, 16, 17. Was it around then you started to have those kind of conversations with yourself?
Well, I remember having a best friend, and we were both really focused on football. But there was one day in particular, it was like 14 or 15, and his parents were both police officers, and we wanted to go training, and he had a swim party or something after, and we got into a huge argument about we had plans to train, and we were going to go from off the bus to go train and go to the field right away. And he said he had other things to do, and that was a big, like, we just argued back and forth for like half an hour, and just I was screaming at him saying, "No, you're not serious. You're not serious about this. I really don't like it when you're bailing on me training." And that was one step where I realized to myself that if I'm going to do something like this from here, it's something that I have to do on my own. I mean, for the most part, growing up now, I really value, a close circle and people that I trust. And when I grew up at the teen level, it was tough to really connect with friends and just to go through a part of my life where I felt like I was the only serious one and the one that loved this game the most around here. So no, I have friends that told me to my face that I wasn't good enough and that I would never make it. And I still don't talk to them today. And they've tried to reach out to me and say, I love what you're doing, all this stuff. But when if you're not going to believe in me when I work hard and when I start out, you can't jump on the bandwagon and support me now. It's not how it works for me. So it was a tough, long road, but like anything, this is something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to do more than anything. And I'm going to cherish my life and put my life towards that.
Absolutely, and again, just so you want to hammer that point home for the guys is that, and a lot of you are at that age now, 15, 16, 17, where there will be outside distraction, where your friends will be going in one direction and maybe trying to pull you along with them. And I think it's important that when you look at yourself and say, okay, maybe it's not soccer, maybe it's something else, but is saying to yourself, are you brave enough to maybe have those conversations and say, no, I want to be something. I want to do something with my life and not get involved or be led into avenues that aren't for you. So especially at this age bracket, which I as a coach have seen throughout the years, and I'm glad you touched on it, Morey. I think it's a really important lesson for the boys, especially at this age bracket, is those life skills and cherishing your life and having an ambition and a goal. Let's go back to your League One. Again, I remember I was there at the time. Is that injury you had in the first in that year a couple of years ago, where you really hurt your ankle pretty bad? I mean, what was going through your head then, and how did you overcome this? I mean, it was a pretty bad injury you got, and if you want to talk us through that for me.
Yeah, it's the thing is about me is that I looked up. I would always watch football on TV. I would always try to learn things about the game, and I think there's players and people out there that don't watch football as intently as others. And I think a big part of that injury was just trusting the process. I was always watching things. I was always being in contact with my idols, the people that I looked up to in the sport. And I knew that when you get injured, it's all mental. And over here, as a semi-pro player, you don't get that that round-the-clock physio care, that next level treatment. So for me, a step like that, it might be longer than if a Chelsea player was hurt with the same injury, you'd get round-the-clock care and be back to no time. But for me, it was just about staying strong mentally. I think that a lot of players understand the injuries and everything to do with it, but it's one thing waking up and seeing your friends and seeing your teammates and everyone, play the game that you love the most, and understanding that you can't. And I think that you have to understand also that, if you want to play this game at a high level, the injuries is the most important thing, that you have to overcome. I think, a lot of players have been, hindered in their careers because of it. And I think it's the one of the most important things that you have to just believe in, that, it's not permanent. It's not something that it's going to be forever, but you have to understand that, you're going to go through it. And just to have that mental toughness to wake up every day. If you have a treatment plan, you work on that. If your physio tells you to do something, you do it. If you need to do something extra, if you can't use your leg, you do an ab workout, things like that. Just making sure you're working in the right way, and and not rushing it. Making sure. I remember talking to you. You were sending me a message saying, are you good? Just make sure you're not rushing it. And that's important as well. You don't wanna get excited and get back to play too quick. You want to trust in yourself and make sure you're 100% ready to go. And coming off an injury like that, I had a lot of motivation, and I feel like I had a lot of extra strength in the tank for me to push on. And that next 2018 season, you told me that I would play every minute and work hard, and it's something that means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's overcoming that adversity, and again, just going to touch back on what was what I want to get from today is the similarities between what you're saying and what the other pros have said on the call, and a lot of the messages are the same. There will be highs in your career, there'll be lows in your career. Even as a young player, as a pro player, it's how you overcome that, and that's life in general. Things will happen in your life where it won't be good. Horrible things might happen in your life, and it's that mental state as to how you're going to overcome that is really, really important. And obviously, and that's why I love the beauty of sport. You can use sport to develop your character and use those lessons that you learn on the field to apply them off the field as well. You talk about watch. I know you're an avid watcher of the game and you study the game a lot. I've seen you sometimes have two TVs going at the same time. How important do you think that is for young players? I don't personally. I don't think they watch enough. I don't think they watch. I think they should. How important was that for you? Watching games, on TV.
Yeah, I will even be honest that I know a lot of players at my level that don't watch. For example, I was saying to another player that Kapue on Watford. I was just saying his name, randomly, and he said, "Oh, who's that?" And I said, "Oh, he plays for Watford, like Premier League." He was like, "Oh, I don't know," and I was just like it's important. And for me, every game that I play, I go back and watch everything. I actually have a program called Instat, so it's what the agents and the top players use, and it just breaks down everything for you. It shows all your clips, defensively, attackingly, everything. So I write down notes, I reflect, and just there's players that you have to knowledge. You have to build your knowledge and just understand that you may not be the best player in some instances, but you have to learn. You have to learn. You have to learn and keep growing. In school, you go to school for 6 hours a day and you study and you do homework and you do tests and you do exams. Football, you play, you have training, you have a game, and for the rest of the day, you don't just sit around and wait for the next one. You have to find ways to learn about things. Jumping from that semi-pro level to the pro level, it was everything's fast and you're trying to learn on the fly and what works for you and what doesn't. But the main thing is just learning about the game and just trying to reflect on things that have happened. Mistakes, good things, and it's something that you need to do to get to the next level.
Absolutely, and we were talking again about that jump now from League One to the professional environment, and for the guys in the call, I mean, obviously we're part of a team that I think individually there were some individual standout players, yourself and Max Ferrari, who's included in that, who obviously just signed for York 9 as well. What kind of things did you do, as well as your performances? I know you were a big advocate of putting videos together and highlights of yourself. I mean, how important do you think that was for you? And again, I say it because the guys at this age, I think it's important now to create highlight reels and video clips of yourself. So you put yourself in the shop window. I mean, how did you go about that?
Yeah, listen, when it comes down to bridging the gap in between, somewhere where you are and something that you want to get to, it's about exposure. And when I grew up, I really had nothing, and I would watch YouTube, and that was how I learned the game in some aspects. I'll be honest, I spent a lot of money in the 2018 season in League One. I was working with a personal trainer in the mornings, and working with him every day, and I was having training at night with you, and I quit my job and just focused on just football. I think it's important that for me to get to the next step, I have to treat myself like I'm there, like I'm working every day, like the pros are. But from a video standpoint, yeah, listen, it's when you see something and when you're doing something, I think it's a little different. I can make a video look better than it is, and it's all about understanding that if one person sees that video and they retweet it or they like it, someone else is going to see that and someone else is going to see that. And it was just for me about showing everyone that, what I did last year is something that, I'm proud of. And it represented, in the highlight video, it's not expensive to make, the people that want to make one, it's, all you have to do is, get your dad or mom just to, put a camera on the side and just, it's nothing really. It's just working with what you have. And luckily the League One, they tape their games. So it was really easy for me to just clip it, just watch the games and clip it and just organize it into defending, attacking, things like that. That a coach or a scout or anyone will want to see at the next level. And, I was emailing it out, sending it out here, sending it out there. And it's really about creating a platform for yourself to be successful and just to put yourself out there. I think you have to be proactive. And for me, from this area, I was always trying to try different things and new avenues. So no, I put that up, and even my coach recently, he even talked to me about it, and he said that it was really impressive when he first saw it. So no, it's something that you need to have. And if you go on a trial anywhere else, that's the first thing they're going to ask. They're going to ask for a resume, and they're going to ask for a highlight tape. And if you say, I don't have it, it's really not something that's a good look.
For sure, especially in this day and age where, as you said, it's so easy just to have someone record and put the time into it. As a coach, I've got videos people wanted to try out throughout the years. Some were awful, just really badly done. And I think with Morey's tape, and I know some of you guys on the call as well are starting to do this, is you want to create that consistency. We want to see as a coach or someone who's looking at that tape and saying, okay, is there consistency here? And I think with Morey's one, Morey in his tape had the 4 functions of the game. He had him in attacking moments. He had him transitioning to defending moments, transitioning to attack. So the lectures that we've done past, guys, I think with Morey's tape in particular, he touched on all of those aspects and really showcased his skills. The video was well put together. So I think credit. I just wanted to touch on that because, again, boys are at that age now where they've got to start doing these type of things. Let's talk about your debut. It took a while, didn't it? It took a few games for you to start. I know talking to you as a player, rightfully you want to be playing. I mean, maybe a little frustrated at the time. What kind of things did you do to knuckle down and get that spot? Because I think personally, once you got that spot, it was game over. It's been yours ever since, and it's yours. You're one of the best fullbacks in the league. But it did take a few games. And what was going through your head around then?
Oh, it was different. Firstly, as a footballer, you want to play games. That's why you play. And, at the League One level, you played me every game, and, you get comfortable, to be honest. You keep working hard in training, but, you're going to start and, you're going to play. And the big difference at the professional level is, every training session is a time to show. And what I found out quickly was that if you're not up to scratch, if you're not training well, someone else is going to take your spot. And, 2-3 fullbacks on a team, and there's, 4 or 5 other players that can play your position, no problem. So it's not a matter of, who can, who's playing better. It's, if you're in that position, it's, a lot of players can play. And just at that level, everything's quicker, everything's sharper. I just remember the first session, I was a little out of sorts, to be honest. It was something that I had to get used to. And even when I talked to Max, he said, it's a lot quicker and the players are a lot more intelligent. But listen, the mental side, I never had to deal with that. As a kid, I was playing, all the games, and you never really know how to deal with it until you're in it. And I didn't play for about a month, and that was a different feeling for me. But at that level, you can't talk about things like that. You don't show your emotions in that way. You have to make sure that you're always representing yourself firstly. But the club in a professional way. And I would talk to, senior players on the team. I would talk to my family just about the way that I was feeling. It wasn't that I wasn't good enough. It wasn't that I didn't have the abilities, but, when you're training, you have to be giving 100%, which I was, but you also have to be, above the other people in your position and above, the majority of the people, because, a squad of 25 and 11 are getting picked. This is your job. And that was the big difference for me. The League One level, there's a handful of good players, but going to that next level, that was my first season as being a pro, and most of the players have 5, 6, 10-year careers, and they're fighting for that job every day. So it was a different feeling for me, one that now I know how to feel, and I get to it in the next ladder and the next stages of my career. But this is all about the mental side. You wake up and you go to training and you work hard. You see your friends, close friends that are maybe in your position or that are, training better than you. And you have to learn to deal with that. You have to learn to have that right mentality, because at the end of the day, you guys are all teammates. You guys are all brothers. But, in training, you have to fight and you have to grind, and, tackles are flying in. You may get into a fight with a teammate, but after, everything's good, because that's a war zone out there. And that's what I learned the first year. I learned that in Brazil, to be quite honest. People will die for that position. People will die for a right to play the game. You have to deserve the right to play, and that's one of the things that I learned last year.
Absolutely, and I think that's important. And Jonathan Osorio touched on it the other day, where he didn't get picked for the national team, and he was out, and his response was simple. It was just focus, self-belief. Don't cry about it. Don't crib about it. Don't talk bad about anyone. Just work hard. Work hard. Believe in yourself. Compete in training, and the rest will take care of itself. And again, at this age, and that whether it's the professional level or not, guys, it's if you go to university, it'll be the same situation. Your League One will be the same situation. And no disrespect to your parents who love you to pieces and do a lot of time for you, but when I have a parent call me, why isn't so and so playing? At this age, my response is, it's on the player. So that's why I really want to get this age bracket that you boys are in, is that you're going to go off to university, and mom and dad won't be there anymore. Or you make it pro, they won't be there anymore. They'll be there to support you, but it's on you. It's having that independence and having that good attitude that Morey and Jonathan and Ryan Raposo have all talked about. So I think that's really important to focus on. So what would you say, now you've talked about self-belief, what would you say if you think of top 3 things to this age group in particular, Morey? What would be the top maybe 2 or 3 things that you could say, this is my advice to you right now? Keep it simple, what would be the top 2 or 3 things?
One is you have to either know that you have to know you want it or you don't. It's black and white. A lot of people say you want to be a pro, but are you waking up every day and investing your time, investing your money? So firstly, it's you have to want it, and if you do, you have to find the pathway that works for you. For me, I'm 25, 26, and of course I would have wanted it when I was, 16, 17, but, you have to trust what you're doing and trust the process, put yourself in an avenue to be successful. And the other is just, there's no time limit for this. It's not something that, there's no special DNA. I think that, if you want to do this and if you want to focus on being a professional athlete, or, you set your goal, if you want to go to university and play there, you have to understand that you don't need to be in a rush with this. You wake up and you work hard, and things may not go your way, that we touched on earlier. You might have a difficult time. I remember my parents broke up when I was in my teen years, and that was difficult for me, but everything that you do in football has to outweigh the negatives. And I think that's, something that I've always really focused on is, something bad pops up, and, I didn't make the provincial team when I was 13. I didn't sign in Brazil. I didn't, sign anywhere. But, you know, if I could play this game just for, a few minutes at a professional level, that was good enough for me. And just understanding that, that it's part of the process. You have to fail. You have to go through, tough times because, at this level, a lot of players want to play, and a lot of players want to be a professional, but just don't take it for granted. Don't take your process for granted.
Fantastic. Couldn't brilliant. I couldn't have said it any better. I think it's the process of it all, that you having to fail. The line of success is never a straight line. It's always curved. It's ups and downs, and your character is determined when you're down. A question I forgot to ask, just coming back to that mental side, and you might or might not, is we talk about believing yourself and all that. The mental side, do you train? How do you train that? Or how do you do it? Do you visualize it? Do you see yourself doing it, or do you meditate, or is it music that gets you going before a game, or what's the process for you?
Yeah, I actually was trying out a few things, but last year, halfway through the season, I was obviously watching all my games back after the game, and I think the most important thing is to watch it when it's fresh. Don't wait a week and then watch it. The day after you watch it, because you remember what you're doing and remember the mistakes you made, remember all the good things that you did. So the quicker you can watch it, the better. But I was watching, and I was at the international house, and everyone was upstairs, and I just like closed my eyes. I was listening to electronic music, which is my favorite, and I just closed my eyes, and I could see it a lot differently. And so I went upstairs in my room, and once I watched the game, I would go through in my head with my eyes closed, all the good things that I did, all the bad things that I did, the mistakes, and the mistakes that I did, I would watch them as if I'm not making a mistake. I would focus on doing it the best of my ability. I would focus on, if I gave the ball away, if I made a square ball and someone intercepted it, I would focus on, instead of doing that, I would make a different option, a different choice. So, that's something that I've been doing over the last 6 months, just trying to envision myself, of course you make mistakes, and at this level, a mistake can cost you a goal and maybe cost you a spot in the team. But understanding that it's okay, first of all, and just focusing on doing everything the right way in my mind, in my heart, and I think it's helped me a lot over the last part of the season. So I'm going to continue to do that.
Excellent. I said for a lot of players, it is that visualization. So I think what guys at Morey touched on reflection, reflecting on himself and then visualizing better outcomes when he does make mistakes. I think these things are important. Some players use meditation, some players use music. There are different tools that you can use to train your mental side of the game. Let's say you're in a game, Morey, and then the same question was asked to Jonathan the other day. You're in a game and it happens. Maybe you're not playing well. There are players you haven't started the game well. What things do you do to get yourself back on track, back on the game?
Yeah, I just remember last year I was having I was in the team, and I was, very comfortable, pretty comfortable with my playing, but there was one 20-minute spell at the first part of the game. I was having a shocker, and I just remember, feeling like, I play 10 games and I play a bad one and my position's gone. That was eating at me. I remember I was standing at the outside of the field and waiting to throw the ball in, and I was just thinking, I can't lose this spot. This is what I've worked for my whole life, and this is something that it's taken me so long. I'm so desperate to keep this position. I'm so desperate to keep this spot. And I just remember, I just had the ball in my hands, and I was purposely waiting to take the throw in. I wasn't throwing it in right away. I just tried to feel positive, tried to tell myself that just try to get out of this funk. You're better than this. You're at this level for a reason. And I remember the coaches were already yelling at me, Morey, let's go, and my teammates were looking at me saying, Morey, come on, this isn't you. And I just told myself, this isn't you. You're better than this. and I just looked around and just, took a deep breath and, threw the ball in, and, it was good to go. And, it's part of the game. I prided myself in staying consistent, but, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to have bad games, but you have to have that ability to, snap out of it and not let it be a funk, and not let it consume you. You go through a stretch of your career where maybe things aren't, the way you want it to be, but like you said, the journey of success, it isn't a linear equation. This is up and down, left and right, forwards and back. So just making sure that when things do go the way that you don't want them to go, you have to make sure that you're mentally strong and mentally focused to be able to get out of those situations.
A great point. Great point. And it kind of it touches on what Jonathan talked about the other day as well. Sometimes when we think about guys having a bad game, most people think about, I'm giving the ball away or something like that. How you can get yourself back in the game as well, guys, is just simplifying the game. And Jonathan touched about just doing his defensive work a bit better. So maybe he's not near the ball, but he's tucking in, or he's putting a tackle in, or he's intercepted a pass. And then when he gets the ball, maybe it's just a simple pass. Because when the confidence drops, it's important just to simplify things. And maybe your next pass is just a simple pass. And then you do that again, or you put a tackle in. And all of a sudden, then that confidence is built back up. So I think Morey touched on when you're taking a throw in and finding the man. It's just bringing things back down to basics and then building them back up again. And I think that's an important thing to realize. You will make mistakes. We all do. As a coach, everyone makes mistakes. But when it happens, just breathe, don't panic, simplify the method, and then work your way back up again. And I think that's super, super important. I won't keep it too long, Morey, because I know we're almost in an hour here, and the lads are probably getting hungry, I'd say. Let's talk about, you talk about a league that playing in Europe. Which league would you like to play in? I mean, is there a league you thought, I wouldn't mind going there in particular? What league would it be? Or what team would it be if you had the dream option?
Of course, I'd like to play in the Premier League, but I think to play in Scandinavia, top level Sweden, top level Norway, top level Denmark is something that it's achievable for me, and I've been watching that level of play. I know my teammate last year, Simon, he played a little lower divisions than what I'd like to play, but I've been actually watching that quality and the type of play there just over the last little while on my break here. But no, listen, I have the goals to play in the Premier League. I have the goals to play in the Liga. But the thing is, for me, is I want to keep it. I want to keep grounded and stay focused on my task at hand. I had a good season here, and I want to make that 2 when we get back, and make that 3 next year when I extended my contract. And the reason why I want to play in Europe is because you can't play there forever. I think the MLS is a good option for me, taking a next step. But I'm 26 now, 27 next year, and I think that the gap in between that level is it's going to slowly get smaller and smaller for me, and I want to take that off my resume before I get to an older age.
Excellent, fantastic. So there's more to life. You got to experience other cultures, other football lessons, and I think that's really, really important. And you see what it's done for Morey's career. You see what it's done for Jonathan Osorio, is experiencing different cultures, and then you can take different things from that. But other than that, guys, if there are other questions, Morey, I'd like to thank you very, very much for doing this for the lads. I really, really appreciate it. I think it's important they realize that there is a pathway close to home. Yes, the MLS and scholarships and all of that, but there's one right on your doorstep, and it's growing and it's taking off, and there's some fantastic talent coming out of that league. And I think it's something that we should all embrace. Yes, your favorite team might be Man United or PSG, but maybe let's look a little bit closer to home and get behind the local lads and support local football, because listen, go watch games. Go watch York 9 this year. Go watch Forge this year if you have a chance, and see what Canada has to offer, because it really is taking off, and I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to be Canadian. I recently became Canadian a few months ago as well. So for me, this does mean a lot for me as well. So thank you very much, Morey. Really, really appreciate your time, and thank you, boys, for jumping on it. Other than that, guys, we're good to go. All right. Thanks very much.
All right, man. Thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take care.